Godzilla Minus One is easily a top 5 Godzilla movie and may in fact be maybe the best Godzilla movie. And it's certainly the most emotionally resonant one that's been made in a long time. Hi, I'm Vampire Ian. This is not my usual sphere, but I'm a huge Godzilla fan and I love thinking too hard about Godzilla movies. So I figured I'd do a little bit of that for you right now, especially since Godzilla Minus One is just kind of buzzing around in my head right now. So I saw it a couple of hours ago. I've let it kind of digest in my head a little bit, and it's peak. It's peak. It's peak. So spoiler-free thoughts first off. We're gonna start there. I am not a spoiler person myself, but if you are, we're going to talk a little bit about my thoughts without talking about the movie, which is a difficult thing to do. So please bear with me. So it's good. First of all, it's a really good movie. It is emotionally resonant. It is full of the action you crave from a Godzilla movie. If you need that, I personally don't really need the action so much. I love the action, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I am okay with a light action movie as long as we have the Godzilla like resonance and the Godzilla feel, and that's all there for sure, guaranteed. But the action peak. It is so well shot. It is really well done, just beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. It looks great on the theater. You don't have to see it in IMAX to have a really great experience with it. It has like proper like color correction and stuff, so it doesn't like look gray and dull and stuff. The CGI is nice. It is all perfectly serviceable CGI. I have a little bit of issues with some of the CGI. I'll get into it a little bit more detail later, but it's like fine, but it's like 9 times better than a lot of stuff you see out of Marvel or something like that. I imagine this is partly due to the crunch hours that the Japanese workers are under. I don't know the exact details behind what was going on in the behind the scenes of this movie, but knowing capitalism and knowing Japanese work culture, there's probably some crunch there. I mean, granted, Marvel Studios guys are also under crunch, but they're making 50 million movies at the same time. If you're crunching one movie at a time, it's going to look pretty decent. I like that they're able to really do daytime shots. A lot of times, monster movies or movies that rely heavily on CGI will do a lot of nighttime or fog or rain, because it's a lot easier to hide the imperfections of CGI when it's obscured. And we do have a couple of nighttime shots because it is a spooky movie. But we have a lot of daytime shots and they still look great. Let's see here. Just like the feel of the movie, there's a great sense of dread, but also hope. And I'm gonna leave it there. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but they're all spoiler thoughts. So I'm gonna leave that thread there. We'll pick it up later. Don't drop it. God, it's just nice to have some good fucking food. This is some good fucking food. I love when Godzilla movies feel like they have a point. There's like a point to this, even if the point is silly, like it's a kids movie that's like, oh, you gotta stand up to your bullies. That's doing my Minya voice. But I like that. That's fine. A lot of the American Godzilla movies don't really feel like they have a point beyond the obvious making money, but all Godzilla movies are about making a shitload of money. So, that kind of goes without saying. But they're very shallow. They're very shallow, and that's why they're able to cut out so much of the human stuff and get right to the monsters fighting, which I guess that's cool if that's what you want, but I want a movie. I want a movie. If I wanted to watch cool fight scenes, I'd watch a cool fight scene compilation on YouTube. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me now. That can't be just me. There's other people out there, probably you watching. So yeah, that's like... I think that's a pretty good summation. The music is great. The new soundtrack is stupendous, and they expertly use some of the classic Akira Ifukube soundtrack. They use some from is this? I don't think this is spoilers. Uh, I don't think most people care about this enough for it to be considered quote unquote spoilers. But they use a little bit from, of course, the original Godzilla film, but they also use a bit from Godzilla versus King Kong. And it is very well used. It is perfect for the scene. And we visual effects, acting is incredible. These actors peak. They are doing so much with what they have, and what they have is really stupendous too. The writing is really nice. I felt myself going like, I'm gonna remember that line, like to several different lines. like I'm like, wow, that line was crazy. I'm gonna remember that one for sure. And it happens so many times that I probably don't even remember all of them anymore because there is too many like incredible lines. And it's not like incredible in like a cheesy way where it's like, ah, that was a cool line. No, I mean like that hit, like that resonated. And it was very interesting. I would say if you don't know a whole lot about Japan in World War II or post World War II, I would maybe consider studying up. I think it will perhaps elevate the movie for you a little bit. There's a lot of stuff in there that's a little subtler. There's a lot of stuff that you'll just know because of your history classes, hopefully. Please tell me you do know the stuff that, like the post-war American occupation and the kamikaze fighters, that stuff. You know that stuff, right? But anyways, get a little deeper than that. Get a little bit of a more cultural understanding of what was going on in Japan at the time. And I think this movie will mean a little bit more to you. I think there might be some things that stick out to you and hit you a little harder. I will say this is, again, I don't think this is spoilers. I'm sorry if this is. It is a full-on reboot of a sorts. This movie does not take place in the same continuity as the original Godzilla films. That is significant. Like, that might not seem significant, but it is significant because for basically as long as they've been making Godzilla movies, the one movie that has always been canon has been the original Godzilla movie until Shin Godzilla. But Shin Godzilla was such a large departure from Godzilla as a franchise that we weren't really sure exactly whether that was going to stick. And it seems to have stuck at least for one more movie in the Reiwa era of Godzilla. For those who don't know, Godzilla is separated into 4 eras. They're mostly named after Japanese emperors, which is how a lot of eras in Japan are defined in general. So you'll see this in like Kamen Rider and Gamera as well as just like actual history. But you have the Showa era, which is the early Godzilla stuff. You have the Heisei era, which is the this like 80s, little into the 90s Godzilla stuff that was all like one connected story. You have Millennium. This is one that's basically exclusively to Godzilla, but this after the turn of Millennium, there was a new series of Godzilla movies that were all like standalone movies, except for the fact that they all tied back to the original Godzilla. And then you have the Reiwa era, which started with Shin Godzilla, and then this would be the second part of that. And then of course you have the American Godzilla films, which are in their own separate category because they're not very Godzilla-like, if I'm being honest. There's some Godzilla to them. I'm not gonna like lie about that, but there's a lot to them that is not Godzilla. But we'll get into that maybe some other time. I'm not gonna try and talk about that in this video because I really just want to talk about Minus One because it's a really fucking good movie. So yeah, wrapping up for spoiler-free thoughts. 10 out of 10, very good movie. Go watch it. I'm not going to spoil any of the themes and really cool stuff to you. It's good. It's good. Watch it. It is easily one of the top 5. I was like counting out my top 5. I was like, well, of course there's the original. The original Godzilla is easily top 5. Shin Godzilla, very good movie. Minus One, which is the one we just watched, of course. Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah All Out Giant Monster Attack. That's one of my favorites. I think that might be my favorite, maybe. It's very close at the very least. And then like the rest of them are kind of a little less resonant to me than those 4. But my 5th one would probably be Final Wars because Final Wars is just a fun movie. Like it doesn't make me feel anything except for excitement. You know, it's just like, oh, hell yeah. You know, that's the feelings that Final Wars gives. And honestly, I think that's what it was made to do. It was made to celebrate Godzilla rather than to say any particular thing about Godzilla. But yeah, so that's why like, and the fact that is that -1 just like immediately was like in that top slot, in those top slots, it really hit me as I was leaving the theater. So definitely check it out, especially if you're a Godzilla fan. If you're not already a Godzilla fan, check it out. It's like if you're like a fan of movies, it's a really good movie. Like minus Godzilla, minus Godzilla, it is a really good movie. And then if you're a Godzilla fan, it's a great Godzilla movie. If you're a fan of the American Godzilla movies, check it out and see what a real movie looks like. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. But do check it out. It's got a lot of really cool Godzilla moments, and it's a really great emotionally resonant story. All right, that's enough of the spoiler-free stuff. I want to talk about the movie. So I'm not gonna tell you the plot of the story. I think that stuff is kind of lame. I understand why people do it, but I'm just gonna like talk about things I liked about the movie. So this movie is incredible. It's a story, a retelling basically of the original Godzilla in a way, of a form, of a shape. But it does so in such an incredible way, weaving in this idea of living for like who deserves to live, living for living's sake. It is because we have this story of a kamikaze pilot who does not finish his run. He lies and does not do it. And it's genuinely incredible to watch him deal with this guilt of not dying there, and then of course not saving the people from Godzilla in that first encounter. And Godzilla himself, while he doesn't actually eat anyone for some reason, that part didn't make a whole lot of sense, like literally, but because like I think they meant for him to actually eat them, and then they weren't allowed to show that kind of gore. I think perhaps this movie, the fact that you see a lot of people die is not a gory movie, so I think there was like a disconnect there. But anyways, Godzilla like appears as a ghastly, like a haunting of his like kamikaze failure, his failure to sacrifice himself for the nation, and it is haunting him and following him. Our main character, Shishiki. Hello, Editor Ian here. So, I don't know why I keep making this mistake in this video, but I keep calling the main character Shikishi instead of Shikishima, which is his name. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. I did get Noriko right. That part when I remembered, weirdly enough. I don't know. Don't know what to tell you. Sorry about that. So here's the correction here. So every time I say Shikishi, think Shikishima. All right? Thank you. And that is really fascinating. This idea of like a personal story of where Godzilla is the haunting weight of his actions. But it's not like, despite when I say that out loud, it sounds like it's a Japanese war film. And it's really not. Like, I kind of got that vibe early on. I was getting that vibe a little bit early on, and I was a little worried about it. I'm a little worried whenever I go into a Godzilla movie. I'm a little worried about that, because they have been known to get into a little bit of that kind of area in a lot of other Japanese media, especially if you look at like Gate. You look at the anime Gate, like there's a lot of Japanese nationalists in Japanese media who are angry at the fact that they can't have like a military. And while I don't like the fact that America basically still occupies Japan and has done so since the end of the war, I also don't like militarization. Go figure. And also the people who are in charge of Japan currently should not have the kind of weapons capability to go to war with someone like China, like a country like China. That would be not good, because they would do it. Because some of the right-wing people in charge of Japan currently are not good people. They're not good people. And you got to vote them out. And people are working to do so. So make sure when those movements come up, you signal boost that. But yes, this is not a pro-war, like a pro-Japan military machine or a pro-self-defense force movie. We have quite a few times where it's made clear that the movie does not like the war. The war was a mistake. In fact, the character directly says, being a veteran is not a virtue. It's a good thing you didn't go to war. Like, he says that to someone, and it's like that hits. It's like, war is hell, and the fact that our country forced us into this war is what is wrong, not that we lost the war. The way that we lost the war was horrifying, though. That part is like true, and it is what they're saying. Like, you have a lot of, so like there's a lot of imagery, of course, of the atomic bombings, but what is actually more like intertwined in this movie is the fire bombings of Tokyo. Which is, I think, in a lot of ways, is a more like impactful thing for some, like especially people who lived in Tokyo, or who live in Tokyo now, who see like Tokyo destruction. Like, they see all the rebuilt buildings. Tokyo has been rebuilt several times, but like the modern rebuilt that happened from the fire bombings of Tokyo. The American bombers rained fire upon Tokyo and destroyed a shit ton of it, and a lot of people died. And that's terrifying. And when you watch the original Godzilla movie, when you see the city in flames, that's not the atomic bomb. That's the fire bombings of Tokyo. And you also see this in Shin Godzilla as well. There's a great big homage to the fire bombings of Tokyo with the entire city in flames. And this is no exception. You don't actually see the entire city in flames in this one. You instead see the aftermath of the fire bombings of Tokyo. Although we also do get into the nuclear bombs too, because of course Godzilla, as always, a nuclear bomb metaphor. But this time he's a bit more. He's the haunting, presence of the war in post-war Japan's mind. He's PTSD. He's the main character's PTSD, but also the nation's PTSD, coming to haunt them, in the form of a giant monster. When he destroys an entire district, an entire city, with one atomic breath, and kills people. You see the people who he kills. That's the atomic bomb. But everything else that he does, he's going after sailors. He's ruining tension. He's making this tension between the USSR and the America thing. Like, he's making it so that they can't interfere. He's just war. He's the war. He's World War II, the ghost of World War II, which, puts in mind Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, where Godzilla in that movie is literally the possessed by the ghosts of all those who were killed in World War II, coming back to haunt the nation of Japan. Which that's an interesting parallel. That's why I love Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah. It's such an amazing film. But this movie does this it just hits really hard, because it focuses on this personal narrative of our main character and his struggle to find the will to survive. He's got massive survivor's guilt, not only from the war, and it makes sense because, for one, obviously he has a personal reason why, but like the entire nation has this survivor's guilt after a war. This happens for a lot of nations, not just Japan. There's this survivor's guilt that takes over and sometimes makes you do stupid things, like not telling the person you love that you love them, but more importantly, making rash military decisions. And this movie really explores the way it tears him apart. He's having flashbacks in his dreams. He's got this shaking hand he can't control. He's this cowardice, but it's not cowardice. It's a will to live, because his parents told him to live, because he's been told to live by his love. He's been told to live by his friends, and he's starting to believe it. But every time he starts to believe it, another tragedy strikes. Godzilla appears. the PTSD returns. And that's just fantastic. I love it so fucking much. I was just wrapped. I was like wringing my hands. I was like, so like, it was like, there's a big sense of dread, as I said, but there's this tension always of like, how is he gonna shake this? Not just like, how is he gonna defeat Godzilla, but how is he gonna shake this weight on him? And he's just one guy. And you have to think about this, like this entire, like an entire nation that's going through similar feelings, and they're all there with him too. Like you have his friends, the scientist and the captain of the boat, and the junior who didn't experience the war. Who's the one who's like, it would be great if I was in the war, and she's like, you don't mean that. You don't mean that. You don't want to be in the war. War is not good. And the captain's like, you're a fucking idiot for saying that to a veteran. And like that's like a big theme of it, is like, war is not good. There's all these the veterans are celebrated in this movie, but not the war. Very importantly, the people are what's celebrated, not their wartime actions. And also it's all Navy, which means that they probably didn't do as many war crimes, hopefully. Like most of the film is Navy. There's one Air Force guy, and that's it. Well, I guess there's also an engineer, but he's engineer corps, so he's not actually involved in war crimes probably. And yes, that strong theme is really neat. But there's also like another theme of community, of people, and like obviously the value of life, but also just like the strength of people working together. Which is why I went on Twitter immediately and was like, this is the anarchist movie of the year. It has big anarchism vibes. It's really, really got some anarchist philosophy in it. And by philosophy, I mean it likes that people work together to overcome obstacles, like Godzilla. But seriously, there is like this idea going on in the movie of people overcoming things not alone but together, and not through government or military strength, but through camaraderie. In like they literally, so like in the climax of the movie, we're not dealing with a government sanctioned, and it's government sanctioned in the fact that the government gave them some stuff and was like, you can do it if you want to, but it's not like a government run project. It's not a military project to stop Godzilla. It is civilians, former veterans, veterans, but they're civilians now, and it's a citizen-run project. And the scientist is like very clear on that. He's like, I don't want this to be that. This is, and since it's not, we're focused not on stopping Godzilla at all costs, because during the war, life was cheap. We were literally sending people to their deaths knowingly, just to score a little bit of a victory in a war we were losing. And that's not what this is. We're stopping him, not at any cost, but we're stopping him, and we're going to do it with as few lives risked as possible. Hi, Editor Ian again. So I don't think I actually drove this point home enough. It's not just that the movie thinks that government doesn't help. The movie is saying that government not only doesn't help in these kind of crisis situations where community is necessary, and like the characters think that. No, the characters actively think the government caused the problems. Not that they necessarily made Godzilla, because obviously the nuclear bomb is what made Godzilla, or at least the current the version that is attacking Tokyo. But it's their inaction and their covering up of all the information, like actively hiding information, which happens multiple times throughout the movie about Godzilla, and this causing a much greater catastrophe than was necessary if they had just evacuated Tokyo, like everyone was suggesting them to do. But you know, they keep this lid on it because they don't want to take responsibility for it. Nobody wants to take responsibility for it. And the Americans can't get involved because they're involved in this huge global conflict with the Soviet Union. And so they're not able to help save lives because they're too busy focused on the Cold War. So not only is the movie like actively like, not only is the movie like saying that like governments are not useful in times of crisis. You need actual people to help you, not not states. The movie is actually saying that governments create problems. They cover up and they destroy, and the hate and the hate that fuels the war is the hate that fuels Godzilla. And to actively defeat Godzilla, you need to throw that away, and you need to work together as people who value other people for being people who are alive and valuing that life together as a community. So I just wanted to add that in because I don't think I made that point quite strong enough here. So there you go. And that also resonates with the theme of like finding something to live for. It's living for your friends and family and living for the people who live around you. In the end, where our main character, he's got this new cool plane, which by the way, very cool plane design. I love that plane. It's so cool. Where he's in the plane and we have this flashback moment. He does the thing that stops the Godzilla, and he had this flashback moment where we see the guy who he basically betrayed, like the guy who has basically haunted him his entire life, not necessarily on purpose, but partly on purpose, because his cowardice got everyone else on Odo Island killed because he couldn't pull the trigger because he was scared of being noticed by Godzilla. And his saying like, you have to live. I want you to like, I want you to tell me you're willing to die, but then I want you to live because you need to live. This is not me trying to kill you. I just want to know that you're willing to see this through to the end, but I want you to live because life is valuable. And that's the thing you needed to learn on that island. We weren't trying to kill you by sending you over to the plane to shoot the Godzilla. We were trying to get everyone to live, and that's like an interesting idea. And he obviously doesn't say all that. That's like what he's saying behind the words. I'm extrapolating here. And especially because like one of the people he was talking to on the island before Godzilla attacks the Odo Island base he's saying like, yeah, of course you bailed on the kamikaze. We need more people like you. We need sane people who aren't going to throw their lives away for a lost cause. But then he ends up being killed by Godzilla because this guy, while he's not obeying these orders, he's also not helping people when in need because he just can't. And that's the ghost of the war. It came for him and tested him, and he failed. But then he has another chance to pass that test, and he passes that test. And the mechanic sees that before he even gets a chance to do it, and he gives them that opportunity to live for something instead of dying for nothing. And I think that's really powerful. I was definitely tearing up. It's a beautiful movie. It has a really good use of quiet. There's a lot of loudness. It's a big monster movie. Of course, there's a lot of loudness, but it has a very good sense of when to be quiet. There's obviously some quiet scenes where our main character and Noriko and are having like arguments with each other, and they're like bashing their ideologies, are bashing heads as Noriko's trying to get him to open up, but he just can't because his war isn't over, which is that powerful line that's never going to leave my head. His war isn't over until Godzilla is dead, because it haunts him. That it's haunting him. It's a ghost. He's a ghost. He's a ghoul, a specter, a yokai even. But we also have that quiet moment in the climax where everyone goes quiet as Godzilla readies his atomic breath, and then he flies in, saves the day. And he saves himself too. And then he finds out Noriko's alive. That scene where she is taken away, incredible. Just like, it's like, oh, it was. I was like, there, because of the theme of like living, of like the value of life and living. I was like of two minds about how that would end. I try not to do too much like predicting of how a movie's gonna go, because that's just not like, it's just kind of boring. Like I would rather just watch and see how they do it. Anything I come up with, I don't know if it's gonna be as good as what they come up with. Whatever. I'd rather just focus on what's happening in the movie so that I can digest it later. But I was like, when that happened, I was like, there's like two like possibilities that coming to me, and it's like, one, she's alive, and it's going to be about how life is sacred, and or like life is worth living. I don't like using the term life is sacred. That's a little too mystical for me. But life is worth living, you know, and you shouldn't just throw that away. Or it could be that she actually is dead, and you know, life is worth living anyways. Life is hard. You're going to lose people, but life is worth living anyways. And I think both of them are like really good ways to end the movie, and they decided to go with the happier one, which made it so I didn't cry as much. So I'm good with that. It was a good movie though. It was a good move. I liked it. I like a little sappy ending. We could have a little sappy ending as a treat. Plus, you know, we have the scene where Godzilla's regenerating at the end, so we all know that there's going to be more horror and chaos later. Hey, real quick thing from Editor Ian here. I don't know why I forgot this, but it also is made very clear that Noriko is dying, or something is happening. There's a black mark on her neck, on the back of her neck, as we see when they embrace, and the camera turns around, and we see this black mark, and it is also maybe moving. It's kind of hard to tell if it's moving or not. At least in my theater it was, and it might be easier to see on a smaller screen actually. But there is some sort of rot or radiation burn or something that is going to slowly kill her. So it's not exactly a totally happy ending here. I did want to make that point before someone in the comments made it for me. So yeah, take that, commenters. I got to it before you did. But I think this also adds an interesting wrinkle to this this post-war malaise, the dangers of radiation poisoning, and the people lost because of radiation that took forever to die. Like, not forever, but they took longer to die than the others. And that also plays into the fact that Godzilla's not actually dead. He's coming back as well. He's slowly regrowing under the ocean. Not even particularly slowly, actually. Very quickly, in fact. And so Godzilla will be back, and whatever is happening to Noriko will rear its ugly head as well. So it's not exactly a happy ending, but there is a happier ending than it could have been. And that does fit with this sanctity of life, and it's this like idea of life is worth living, even though it's hard. But like it is still going to be hard, and that's like that push and pull of the movie. Yeah, life is hard, but it's okay to stay living, and it's worth living. But like it is still hard. Like, do not forget that, because if you do, it's going to hit you, and you're not going to be prepared for it. Yeah, that's Editor Ian out. Back to your review, I guess. Analysis, whatever you want to call this. And the thing about this is I don't know if we're actually going to get a sequel to this necessarily, because we didn't get a sequel to Godzilla Monster King Ghidorah Giant Monster All Out Attack, and that had a scene of the heart beating at the end. So, you know, Godzilla always comes back in theory, but that doesn't mean we get to see it, you know. But yes, there's also Godzilla himself. Godzilla himself is really nice. I like this design. He's a bit chunky. He's got a lot of scales to him. I like it. He's a little bit his like pre-atomic form is interesting. I like how hunched over he is. It's kind of fun because it's clear he's like an aquatic creature, and then the atomic form really mutates him a bit, and he becomes more terrestrial in nature and a lot stiffer. which I honestly think didn't quite work as well as it did for Shin Godzilla. I think Shin Godzilla's alien form is so like out there that the stiffness really works to make it feel weird. But for Godzilla -1, Godzilla's stiffness kind of works against him because he feels more like a force of nature than a weird, like, man-made monstrosity bent on human annihilation. He's all, feels like a ghost, and ghosts move. Ghosts move. Stupid. Good film analysis, Ian. But it just doesn't feel, it feels a little too stiff is all. I really liked the way the atomic breath works in the movie. The fact that it charges up and also blows up his face, that's incredible. It's like, it's so much more powerful. This is the most powerful atomic breath we've ever seen. And it's incredible. It just makes for a devastating blow when he just destroys Ginza. Just absolutely annihilates Ginza, and the battleship, and just incredible. And the way the spikes poke up as it charges up so slowly, oh, it's incredible. The tension and the spikes popping up is such a cool detail because it makes it feel like it's like he's like locking and loading it, and then it just really good. I really like that detail. And the way that makes the scene where they execute the plan, where it hits the decoy, and it's like, it's clear that the doctor has been studying the way that Godzilla works. Just like, even from the few encounters he's had, he's been studying the way Godzilla works, and he's like, okay, we have to have this decoy here. He's going to hit the decoy, and then he won't be able to use the heat breath for a long time, and you'll be able to use that time to activate our plan. Brilliant. I love that little attention to detail that the movie has. Speaking of the plan is so cool. It's really an interesting way to try and take the basic, like, visual ideas of the oxygen destroyer and put them in a more realistic, it's not perfectly realistic, but it's more realistic setting. And I really like that. I don't know, it doesn't have to be realistic. Like, it's Godzilla. He's a big lizard with atomic breath. But I liked it. It was really cool. And like, it was also like a plausible way to kill a giant monster like that. The explosive decompression is such a neat idea. And the using the bubbles to like make it fall, that's so cool. And the fact that you literally sent Godzilla 15,000 feet down and then up, or was it meters? Up and like down and up just to get that explosive decompression. Incredible. And then, of course, the pièce de résistance, the experimental plane with the bomb. Just boom. Actually, important thing about that, this is like some of that context I was talking about in this spoiler-free section. So this is like some little context you might get if you like study the history of Japan in this era. But the thing about the engineer who's Tachibana, I believe his name is Tachibana, about him like staring at the ejection seat, that's like an important part of the kamikaze like build, is that you remove the ejection seat. Because the reason why is you need to remove the ejection seat to save cost on fuel and weight, so that you can carry more bombs. You need to be able to carry enough bombs to like really wreck some shit up. But you also need to be under a certain weight so that you can, one, fly, but two, be able to get there with your fuel. But you only have enough fuel, of course, to get, there, not there and back. Which you also cut back on the amount of fuel to make it a one-way trip. So that also saves you some room and weight, so you can actually carry these bombs. So that's why he spends so long lingering on the ejector seat function, because normally you would have removed that in a kamikaze like fighter jet. So he has to like think about like, do I put more explosive in here, or do I, or do I let him live? And he chooses life, which is, I love when people choose life. It makes me happy. I like when people like living, and they like when other people are living, and they fight for other people's ability to live the way they want to. And they also overcome grudges and hate to do so, and they work together to stop pain and misery and destruction. That's like my whole ethos. And this movie was like, hey, would you like all that wrapped up in a Godzilla? And I said, yes, more please. I don't know, this was really rambly, of course. This was always going to be rambly because I didn't like write down anything. I think I covered everything I wanted to say, though. Oh, the music, awesome. I love that they used the Godzilla versus King Kong music during the execution of the plan, because that music, it was used when they're doing the Capture Kong. I think that might have been was that the name of the song, was Capture Kong? Anyways, that music was used when they were capturing King Kong, and bringing it to Japan in Godzilla vs. King Kong. And to hear that used when they're doing this plan to capture Godzilla and kill it is really cool. That was a perfect use. They used the Akira Ifukube music so well, and the new stuff really good too. Very solid music, and very solid silence too. It just, the sound design was incredible. I like the Godzilla roar too. Yeah, the Godzilla roar is like a little bit of the American Godzilla roar, but that's not the problem I have with American Godzilla. I actually like the 2014 American Godzilla, if you believe that. I didn't think it was perfect, but I liked it. And there's aspects of that roar I do like, and they like mixed it in with that classic Godzilla roar, which if you don't know is made by it's a contrabass, which is a big violin. it's the big, the big bass, the contrabass, and they take a resin glove and they rub it on the strings of the instrument to make that roar, which is why it sounds so metallic. But it's classic. It's enduring. It's classic. It's perfect. And just adding that like post-processing effect to make it sound more modern and more fills the room. It's nice. I like it. Also, I like the reference to Odo Island, of course. Odo Island being the place where Godzilla first appears in the original movie, and it's also the place where the people have the legends of Gojira, which is where they have the legends of Gojira in this movie as well. Odo Island continues to be the source of the Gojira name for Godzilla. Lots of good water scenes. They did a lot of cool stuff with Godzilla in the water in this one. A lot of the movie takes place in the water, now that I think about it. It's a very water-filled movie. But yeah, just like a really good movie. Probably the most emotionally resonant movie besides maybe the first one, and even then I think it might have an edge on the first one, because the first one is emotionally resonant. Do not hear me wrong here. Absolutely, very emotionally resonant. But this one, it kind of takes it up to 11. It really hits it. Part of it is I think it really benefits from, like 100 years, or not 100. Why am I saying 100? I'm an idiot. I guess it's 70. Yeah, it's the 70th anniversary, isn't it? Yeah, the 70 years of film development, where you can really amp up those emotions because of all this like experimentation with film since then. And it really takes advantage of all that. It really hit me. It really hit me really hard. I was wet-eyed in that theater, wet-eyed, full of dread and full of tension, and it was an experience. Like I said, I was wringing my hands and I was like, oh, I didn't want it to stop, but I was like, oh. Definitely a very loud movie though. When it's not silent, it's very loud, which is going to make it hell for watching it on your home video, like on your TV. And hell, in the theater it's kind of hell too, because it's so loud. I was at some points like, I kind of wish I had brought maybe like something to protect my ears. but I think I was probably fine because it does give you breaks from the loudness too, which is what you need. Like when you're PSA, when you go to a concert, you should take breaks or like have earplugs or something so that your ears can take a rest from the loud noise. It's really important. don't fucking play around with your ability to hear, unless you want to lose it, I guess, which would be weird. But yeah, I think that's about all my thoughts. I really liked. Oh wait, actually, the camaraderie between the characters, it really came through. Of course, the acting great. Definitely, I would, if you can handle it. If you're not like a person who needs to have a dub, I totally get wanting to have a dub. I would see this subtitled because the actors do a like stupendous job with this, and the dub is probably going to take away from that just a little bit. But so definitely, it's fine subtitled. It's not like it's not a heavy read. Everything is like short sentences, you know, pretty much. There's not long monologues in the Godzilla movie, and especially not this one. So like try and watch it subtitled because these actors are acting their fucking hearts out, and it's incredible. I loved every second of that. Every time the actors were on scene, I was like, oh yes, fucking yeah. And every time Godzilla was on scene, I was like, wow. They really got across the destruction. The destruction is just so brutal and visceral in this one. It is actually a horror movie in this time. This is a kaiju film that is a horror because it is devastating. Bring the kids. Okay, I think this time I have finally exhausted all of my. Oh, wait. Never mind. I have one more. This is the last one. Godzilla being fucking Wolverine is so fucking cool. I'm glad this is like the one benefit in my mind of like getting rid of the suit. Well, it's not the one benefit. One of the few benefits, because I do like the suits a lot. One of the few benefits of getting rid of the suit and switching to CGI is that you can have this really fast regeneration that it's just like, oh, they blew up the side of his face. You can see his bone. Oh, no, you can't. It's all back now. It's like, it's so cool. It's so gross. It's so cool. And the fact that they made his atomic breath so powerful that it destroys part of his face is such a fucking cool idea. I'm surprised I've never seen that done before. I mean, it's been done before, I'm sure, but like I've never seen it done before with Godzilla. And because Godzilla is usually seen as like indestructible. Obviously his atomic breath wouldn't destroy him. He's indestructible. But no, this time, bam. It's such a genius idea. I noticed that the director was the writer, director, and VFX guy, which is an interesting combination. You don't see that very often. It makes me wonder if that's why some of the effects looked really nice, because the director actually had an eye for that kind of thing. And that was just like a really neat little detail there. Okay, one last Editor Ian section before we end the video. So there is one last thing I want to talk about really quickly. This is it is the first time we've had a Godzilla period piece. There has been occasional dips into the past of Godzilla in the Godzilla franchise, particularly the Heisei era had some like little brief glimpses into the World War II era Japan. But most of the time Godzilla is of its era. Even if that means it is like, you know, in the post-war Japan, you know, the original Godzilla is not a period piece. It just actually is in that period, which is the same period that this movie is in. However, this one obviously was made recently, so they had to do a lot of stuff to bring that history to life. And they did a really good job with that. People are riding in tanks that actually existed. People are flying in planes that actually existed. They're shooting guns that actually existed. There's ships that actually existed. They're wearing clothes that were the actual clothes, and the styles of clothes that they're wearing shift as the shifting landscape of Japan, happens as the American occupation changes the way Japanese people dress and live in this remodeled Japan. And it also covers like the shifting place of women in the household of Japan, even though Noriko isn't like married to the main character, like there's still like this covering, there's like little nod to the shifting ways in which women now were getting jobs and had power within their households, which is very interesting. So very cool. As a historian, very cool. Thank you. I don't know about the accuracy of it. Nothing in the movie was so deep that I think I have to go fact check it. I think everything is like fairly surface level as far as the history goes. So like none of it I think actually needs to be like examined thoroughly for historical accuracy. It's all stuff that doesn't really matter all that much. It's not like a movie about Napoleon where we replay a famous lie about Napoleon to increase the already overinflated importance of Napoleon in Earth's history. As an example. All right, back to the ending of the video. Thanks for watching. But yeah, final thoughts. Stellar movie. I don't know if it's my favorite Godzilla movie. I don't know if I can rank my top 4. Like I think the 4 I like the most, I like better than Final Wars. So Final Wars is definitely number 5. But like between GMK, -1, Shin Godzilla, and the original Gojira, I can't really pick a favorite of the 4. It's really tough because I really like a lot of what they're doing, and they're all kind of doing a little bit of a different thing with the same guy, which is what I love about Godzilla, is that he can do different things. He could be an environmentalist, he can be the atomic bomb, he can be the PTSD ghost of World War II. He could be the literal ghost of World War II destroying Japan. You know, there's a lot of cool stuff going on with Godzilla, and that's why I love him so much, and that's why I spent 45 minutes talking about him. So I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you go see the movie. Definitely go. If it's already out of theaters by the time you're watching this, get it at some point on movie, like on a streaming service or whatever. Buy it physical, probably buy it physical, so that it doesn't go away. And you know, maybe look around and make sure it doesn't get a second screening at some point, because I think it's worth seeing in the theater too. It's got a lot going on that would be really nice to see on the big screen. Really worth to see there. So yeah, definitely check this out. And hey, if you like this kind of content, I don't usually do this kind of thing, but I could be doing this kind of thing. So if you like this kind of content, leave a comment. And I do have something cooking that might be exactly what you're looking for. And if you leave a comment, I'll be more likely to put it on the front burner instead of having it on the back burner like I do currently. So definitely let me know. Thank you all for watching this little diversion from my usual stuff, and I'll see ya in the next one. Bye. Hey there, thanks for watching another video. Why don't you give it a like, share it around, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications. You know, the YouTube stuff. You can also follow me on Twitch and Twitter for more content. I got content plenty for ya. You can also support the channel by giving me money. You have a Patreon. If you join the Patreon, you can show up in the credits over here. I would really appreciate that. You could also use my TCG Player affiliate link to get any singles, sealed product, or accessories that you want, all to supporting the channel at the same time. That's all for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and have a wonderful rest of whatever time it is for you. Bye now!